Part of the Warner Brothers Discovery deal was David Zaslav taking over. David Zaslav has made it very, very clear and very just down the line, our plan is to absolutely mine the bejesus off of the IPs that we have. It's a smart plan, quite frankly. There are a bunch of IPs that are popular that they are not taking advantage of. Not only that, ladies and gents, is that you got to remember Warner Brothers was a powerhouse back in the day, and they've succumbed to nonsense. Absolute nonsense. With David Zaslav in charge, yes, there is the opportunity for them to go back to the raging success that they had previously basked in the past. Now, one of those things is Harry Potter, or two of them, is Harry Potter and Lord of the Rings. They've just struck a deal with the Embracer Group, who are now the rights holders of Lord of the Rings, and they are able to make more movies. We don't exactly know how that's going to materialize, although we have a quote from the CFO of Warner Brothers: "We're only just starting to expand." There's an interview with Variety that we're going to be taking a look at, and it's all about Harry Potter and Lord of the Rings. And it's interesting because this could shape, change, and maneuver the future of the industry. Why do I say that? Well, Warner Brothers is very, very smart in terms of the acquisitions of IPs that they've had in the past. They have consistently been putting out fantasy, Game of Thrones, now they've got House of the Dragon. They'll be expanding that even further with other elements, Lord of the Rings, Harry Potter, Wizarding, Magic, etc., whilst also doing DC. Disney doesn't really have much like that. They kind of do, but they kind of don't. You know, there's nothing really that you go, fantasy, that Disney's got. They've got some sort of dystopian future with Hunger Games. I believe that was a Fox property. Could be wrong, that might be a Warner Brothers one, which is another string to Warner Brothers' bow, I guess. But nonetheless, this will be interesting because it will genuinely reshape the industry. So let's dive into this, hit subscribe, give the video a big thumbs up, and do share it. It really does go a long way. Now, I've been keeping track of all of this during the time that this has been reported and sort of ongoing, and it's an interesting look at the industry, like I say. So Warner Brothers Discovery CFO on Harry Potter and Lord of the Rings franchises. We're only just starting to expand. Now, some people would take a look at that and say that's bad. I myself think that, you know, there's a limit to the amount of crap you can make on a product before you are just patently obvious milking a cash cow. I think Harry Potter you could mine a bit more. Lord of the Rings, although a huge universe, it's the best fantasy world ever created. Genuinely, I firmly believe that with conviction. But you then adapting things or changing things or just taking a look at things, and I will make a story about that. To me, you start to differentiate yourself from the original works, and I don't want them to do that so much with Lord of the Rings. Harry Potter, the original creator, is still around. You can ask her to write stuff. You can ask her to do a spec script. You can ask her to do, you know, a quick screenplay. There's so much you can do. Tolkien's not here. And looking at things through modern sensibilities, with Tolkien, you end up with the Rings of Power, which is completely obtuse by comparison to what the works were intended to be and originally. So, you know, Harry Potter, mine till the cows come home, fine. You can even ask the original creator to start writing stuff. Lord of the Rings, I don't really want them to do. But hey, let's take a look. So never fear, genre fans. Warner Brothers Discovery is intent on mining as much of its tentpole Warner Brothers IPs as possible in the near future, whether that be through its upcoming revamped DC Universe, the newly announced The Lord of the Rings movies, or more projects based on J.K. Rowling's Harry Potter franchise amid the success of video game Hogwarts Legacy. So, we had a brief statement to do with DC. They say DC is an enormous opportunity and two important building blocks are in place now with the leadership team, Peter and Gunn. And James has been breathing comics for as long as he's been alive, essentially. Warner Brothers Discovery CFO Gunnar Wiedenfels said during a panel at Morgan Stanley's investor conference Wednesday. So they're looking to get investors. It does make sense. They might be looking to sell still, we don't know, but we shall see, I guess. A great connective leader here And the second building block that is in place is the one company approach, because I think you can only manage a franchise if everything is coordinated and the team is working together extremely well. There's an enormous level of collaboration and joint decision making around what should work hand in hand across the franchise. Makes perfect sense. Don't hand shit off to other people. But DC is not the only Warner Brothers owned world that Warner Brothers Discovery leadership is interested in capitalizing on. Take Harry Potter as an example, the Wizarding World. The fact that we are enjoying this massive success with the Hogwarts Legacy launch, 12 years after the last film came out, shows that there is so much opportunity, and we're only just starting to expand that. We've got the new Harry Potter tour coming up in Tokyo in the middle of the year. Long story short, I think this one company approach, great leadership in the individual business units, but coordinated franchise management is probably one of the biggest opportunities the company has. And what they're referring to there is the fact that they literally made Hogwarts Legacy. Right, they don't sell the IP off to another company, just I'd go do that, whatever. Like Disney does. They don't make the games in-house, they just give them off to other companies, right? Warner Brothers, they handle the games with a very hands-on approach. Now, one thing which they should also note there, and I really do hope they take this on board, is the fact that they didn't bow to the pressure from the woke mob when it came to Hogwarts Legacy. Because if they did, then it would have been a failure. That's important. And as for when we're going to get the new Lord of the Rings films, which Warner Brothers announced during its recent fourth quarter earnings call, Wiedenfels was evasive but hopeful. It means they don't have they're signing contracts. David made a promise, quote unquote, very early on to revitalize some of that iconic tentpole IP, and we're starting to make progress, the CFO said. It's exciting to see how people are coming in and out and how the creative community is embracing this opportunity to work with us. That's going to bear fruit over time. So there you have it. There you have it. It's interesting. I think the Lord of the Rings stuff is perhaps the most interesting part of all of this, because it seems to me like they are making moves to get things solidified and in place, ready to go. Now, that's a long process. It's going to take a little while, but it does make sense. With respect to the other stuff, Harry Potter, like I say, I think you need to court J.K. Rowling, get her on board, and just get things sorted from there. It's not that difficult, but mark my words, is that if this stuff becomes a success, moving forwards, you will have the industry trying to target these elements of genre. That's why every single studio out there is trying to do superhero stuff at the moment, because it's the thing. It literally takes one studio to do one successful movie, and every studio wants to do it in the same genre. So it'll be interesting to see how this shapes and molds the landscape moving forwards. But I hand it over to you. What do you think? Let me know down below. Folks, we're only just starting to expand. Hopefully not too much or too quickly. Put a plan in place. Stick to it. Or do you think they're looking to sell? Because that is the potential here as well. Anyway, cheers guys. Take care.